All right, we are live right now with my good buddy Masaki Miyagawa. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you doing?
Hey, ready to rock? Happy Friday, everybody.
We
There's a
got a
lot going
lunar
on in the crypto markets.
we got we got a lunar eclipse. We got a Friday the 13th
Yeah.
and a Mercury retrograde. Have we
Might want to buy some diapers before next week because it's going to drop more.
have we hit the trifecta here?
Well, you know what?
Well,
Uh,
Pluto's retrograde too. Let's throw that in there.
I think it was over a month and a half ago I came on and gave that forecast
Yeah, we're going to talk
or
about
that
that.
warning, let's say, that
That
a
I
bit.
keep getting texts and emails about your
Well, and I take these things seriously. Uh, it's not off the cuff, but
right.
because it could go the other way too. But I felt since we did a workshop and a lot of your viewers were in the workshop in December,
That's right.
just to give a heads up because there's a lot of people, they've never had crypto before, and basically we've been on a downtrend
Yep.
for months, right?
Yep.
So, but if you wake up one day like is coming soon, you wake up and see Bitcoin's at like 20K where it was like at like the mid 40s or something, you're gonna freak out. But your viewers got a head, in financial markets, Robert.
Yeah.
A day is a lot of lead time.
Oh,
A
you,
week,
yeah.
they got like 6+ weeks. So,
If you get a day in the financial world, you can make
uh-huh,
a killing.
uh-huh.
So let's bring people up to speed here and let them
Sure.
know because some people may not know who you are, though I find that hard to believe uh, based on the audience here. This is my good friend Masaki Miyagawa, and he's on here today to talk about what's happened in the past, what's happened in the present,
Uh-huh.
and what we might be able to experience in the future. And I asked Masaki to come on to the show because he we did a crypto webinar together, which was a very successful webinar. You were able to synthesize the basic foundation and principles of cryptocurrency, the cold fusion wallet, the hard ledger. I mean, it was A to Z, soup to nuts. And then because I feel like you felt a degree of responsibility for your information, which I really, uh, admire you for. You said, listen, I want to get on your show because you reached out to me. You said, I
Uh-huh.
want to come on your show and I want to talk about where this is headed, especially because your people were part of the webinar that we did. So I feel incumbent upon them to give them a heads up. And to be clear, when we went into this world, you took them out to the rings of Saturn on some of this stuff, but you were also talking about things that were very fundamental and basic. And it wasn't like you or I were telling people, "Hey, this is a get rich quick scheme, and if you do these things, you're on Cush Street for the rest of your life." So there was a lot of really pragmatic advice and tempered expectations when we did
Uh-huh.
this webinar. So then you came back on. This was what, about 4 weeks ago, right? About 4 weeks ago,
Oh, I think it was closer to like a month and a half.
month and a half. Okay, 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then you came onto my show and you basically scoped out where the crypto market was going and you nailed it to a T. And just to show people, because I have a visual here that I can share with people. This was given to me by Rod, who listened to your advice, by the way.
Uh-huh.
And Rod did a okay, I think.
Well,
Uh,
if you had sold to buy back, I said there's two options. Just know that there's going to be a big drop and you could sit and hold through,
mhm.
or you could sell a portion of your holdings to buy back lower.
Right.
If they would have sold a portion, uh I think you're already either at or close to doubling your position. and we have more to drop. So
So
yeah.
this is it. This is the day. This is the day. You nailed the peak right there.
Oh wow. Okay,
Yep.
that's a good to know. That's
You
good to
nailed the
know.
peak, and then here we go. And then wow, an inversion of the parabolic. It's a parabolic, but it's a parabolic drop, right? So, and it's interesting because it almost matches where this high was, and then we can see the crater effect, and then the upward rise, and then people looks like people are pulling out here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then here's a low, and like, okay, we're going to stock up on the low, we're going to hit this high, and then at that point, which is almost to the day that you predicted this, everything begins to go like this. So, congratulations on putting in all the hard work and the effort to understand these cycles from all these different perspectives and give people a heads up. Not many people can do that.
Well, also, there's other people in the space that I consider even higher level. Um, like they very much specialize in that's all they do, right? Crypto,
Yep.
and a lot of them, although I think I mentioned the last time, the events are happening sort of in the same sequence, but that spring run, which a lot of us expected from the end of last year,
Yep.
it was pretty flat. So, the timing of the crash, I said in December at the workshop, probably it's going to look like this. We'll get a spring run and then it's going to crash.
Yep.
Well, the crash is happening. We didn't get any run. And I think, Robert, that it's a combination of the Ukraine war, right?
Yep. Yep.
And then also, this is highly manipulated.
Yeah.
We'll get into what happened in the last couple days, but
Yeah.
this
So
is all like central bank, like big mover stuff,
yeah,
So
we're going to tap into your expertise here. It seems like when it hit that peak, it was sort of a return to kind of an original position. Like, it wasn't a major run, but it kind of got up to a place where it was before it had kind of fallen off. It's like, okay, it's stabilized. If you got in low, which is what that trough period was,
Mhm.
right, the other side of the parabolic drop, then you made some money, right? But
Yep.
then that peak period lasted all of what, maybe 24 hours at the most, right? There's your day right there. And you can just
Well,
you can just follow the next day. There's more and more and
well,
more and more, right?
well, Robert. Even though I'm not. I would say I'm like upper middle as far as like my level of the crypto.
Yep.
But even me looking at this every day, if I would have taken major profits in October, November last year,
Hmm.
oh, I could do some major damage buying at these lows. But the thing is that you never really know 100%. So even me selling some of my positions to buy back lower, I'm actually sitting on most of my crypto
Yeah.
because for somebody like me that's been stacking or accumulating crypto for a while, I'm actually trying to just, if I feel I have a winning position, I kind of want to defend it. I'm not trying to be too risky because anything could happen, right?
Yeah.
So it could go the other way too, where things start running. Probably right now is like 99.9% of cryptos they're gonna dump some more, but I'm looking at my time window is about like 2.5 years out. That's what I'm. So the gains that I'm trying to lock in or just make sure like I have a very good bet, right?
Yep.
That's my time window. So that's but definitely like right now, it's not just a crypto crash. It's this. I think this is a big part of the financial reset,
Yep.
and probably, Robert, we're gonna have a drop. Probably the bottom probably won't be in for at least another few weeks, which a lot of people would say, didn't we already drop a lot? I think that we could see maybe like 18,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah. I was gonna say right around 15. That's what I think is the floor.
We could wick down, but if you look at the retracement, those
Yeah.
technical analysis retracement
Yeah.
lines,
Yeah.
it's around 17,000.
Yeah, my instincts was just saying 15. So
Okay.
yeah,
So well, I said
somewhere in that area. And by the way, for some people, $2,000 is actually a lot of money, as we've seen.
so. The last time I was on, I was saying like, yeah, we could say some incredible lows like 20K, and we were at 40, the mid 40s at that time.
Right.
I think we're gonna go below that, but once we hit a bottom, I think we'll rally for a few months, and then there's gonna be another crash this fall, I think. And
Yeah.
because if you just look at the
So let me ask you a question really quickly. Okay,
Yeah.
let's take a look at the potential fall crash. And by the way, I've only got you till about 12:45.
Okay.
I want to pick your brains as much as possible here.
Okay.
So we have these theoretically. We have the midterms coming in November. Do you think that the crash would happen after the midterms or before the midterms?
Probably before.
Before.
They may not. You know what? It's highly manipulated, but they may not be able to totally control it. This is the way things are going. I mean, look at like 2+ years of lockdowns.
Right.
The thing is that Robert, we talked about this from the Trump era. Once you open Pandora's box and everything is so highly manipulated, it's they can't control everything.
No, they can't.
Once you're in a full-on collapse, can you really control everything?
You can't stop an avalanche once it gets started.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that we probably hit bottom in crypto in June. And then we'll rally for a few months, and then I don't have a timing down right now. Like you saw up until this point, like from the end of last year, I was feeling like pretty much the major events I had.
Yeah, you and I talk almost every day.
So I'm not exactly sure the sequence of the fall crash. It could start as soon as September, but definitely I think October would be like the final drop. And
the final, go ahead.
We could go down to about I think 9,000 Bitcoin, and that would completely be demoralizing and wash people out. But guess what, Robert? The good thing is that this is my personal view, okay, and not financial advice, but in a way it's a gift, because there's still a lot of people that if you wanted to get crypto, they're like, oh, I missed out and all this. Trust me, if Bitcoin's at 9,000 per Bitcoin, the altcoins, the smaller coins, are going to be completely crushed.
Yep.
That doesn't mean that some couldn't run also and then fall back down. Like Shiba Inu, one of my favorites. I think Shiba Inu could actually run up quite a bit, and then it's going to fall back with everything else. But if you were looking to pick up crypto, this is a gift.
Yeah, I feel that way too. I mean, if you can muster, if you didn't get just crushed, and you can muster up a little nerve, I would say that July to let's say September period, I think could be a good time to get in.
I'll say this also, again, not financial advice, but I was saying that my time window is to the end of 2024. That's when I think you're going to see the kind of multiplier and the run that I want, right? But some of my favorite coins I think are going to do over 100x, but you're not going to see it this year. We could go like maybe like
right
10x
and who's
some of these coins, but
you
know me, I'm like a I'm a shit coiner. So
right.
I don't even look at a coin unless I'm a little more leveraged than, say, if I help an older person with their portfolio, but I could do what I want, right?
Yep.
I know the risk. So, but the coins that I look at, I'm looking at 1,000x potential. So not financial advice for other people, but for me, that's what I'm looking at, and I'm pretty serious about it.
Yeah.
So even though, I mean, we're going through a big dump right now, and it is connected to the other markets, because the regular Wall Street stock markets are dumping. You're gonna have probably a bond implosion. Everything. This is the reset. The 2 years of lockdown, that was phase 1. This is phase 2.
Yeah,
right? So,
we're watching
but
another iteration of the controlled demolition here.
yeah, I think that, you know, doesn't that make sense though? They're going to completely crush the crypto market, but then I think next year you'll see some moves, but definitely by 2024 you could see some 100x plus moves on some of these favorite
So,
coins.
so let's talk about that in a second. I want to revisit that. Maybe we can end on that.
Yeah. Okay.
A couple of things that I want to bring up here. First, you and I were not really scheduled to talk about this, but did
Okay.
you see that that Elon Musk has put the Twitter purchase on hold? Have you seen that?
Oh yeah. Well, he's relying on. I think he's like borrowing against his Tesla stock.
Right,
So all the tech stocks are way down.
right, right. And also, like, what do you think his position was with his crypto holdings prior to all this? Do you think he got out and got as much liquidity as possible, or do you think this is actually playing a role in his cold feet with Twitter, which at this point he's blaming on the fact that Twitter has a bunch of unverified users who are bots and shill accounts. What do you think is really going on there?
You know what? I'm just looking in my mind, and aside from all the little factoids, I kind of feel like Elon Musk. I just see him smiling. So I'm sure people at that level, they know far ahead. It's hey, if I don't have any special context and I saw this coming like
Yeah, what do you think? What do you think they know,
months ago,
right?
right? You don't think
Yeah.
he really knows? So, um, if you're at that level, I'm sure that they've made arrangements or something. You know what? The thing is, like I was saying, 6 weeks ago, something I gave an alert on your show, right?
Hmm.
And if you make a move hours or a day ahead of time, you could really do things financially, right?
Hmm.
These are insiders. I don't have any special connections. I'm just an observer, right? You don't think Elon Musk has the inside track on
Well, I'm sure.
what's going to happen?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Until somebody gives him the wrong inside track, and then they
yeah,
double cross him, which happens a lot too.
yep.
Let's get into Tether. Why
Okay.
is what is Tether? Why is Tether important, and why did Tether implode?
Well, it's not Tether that it imploded. It was another one, UST.
UST.
But
Yeah.
yeah. So crypto. It really started out with Bitcoin, which is sort of like a digital money, right?
Hmm.
Um, but as time went on, you have more and more exchanges. In the beginning, Robert, it was actually somewhat difficult to buy crypto unless you were tapped into that world, right? There's a bunch of
Right.
nerds, basically,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But then you had like I can't remember exactly. Was it 2013, 2014 that Mount Gox? It was exchanges, crypto exchanges. And the first one was actually, I think they were like collectibles, like baseball cards. It was a site in Japan,
Hmm.
and they started doing Bitcoin. That was, to my knowledge, that was the first major crypto exchange. But as you had more and more, exchanges pop up for trading purposes, it's very convenient to have a play token. Like how you go to the arcade and you give them $1, they give you these like tokens to put in the machine.
Hmm.
Well, you had these stable coins pop up where one stable coin equals $1 typically. It's supposed to be pegged, right? And you could take these tokens and swap them for whatever crypto you want on another exchange. Very good for trading because, especially for tax purposes and that kind of thing, there's no real, you're not trading like two cryptos that have a floating value. If you have a stable coin, you can, like right now, right, hop out of a position and then you hop back in, right?
Right.
So
Right.
if you
Right.
had like a profit or loss on the position you sold, it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
you have to consider that for tax purposes. But with a stable coin, it just makes it simpler. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then also, um, although, so you were talking about Tether, which
Mhm.
is a very popular one that didn't implode yet, but USDT Tether uh, it is known that they have been printing tether tokens just like the Federal Reserve. They're just printing them out of nothing, right? And
Right.
there's an ongoing, I think it's a New York Attorney General is investigating Tether,
Hmm.
and Tether will implode at a certain point. I'm actually sitting in a lot of Tether right now, so.
So what would it be?
But
Would it be a more useful and secure if you wanted to die?
yeah, there's other ones like Dai. There was UST, which just imploded.
That's the one
But
we're going to talk
let me
about.
just
Yeah.
say, like for Tether, again, not financial advice, and I hope to God, Robert, it stays stable because I actually. So this is in the more general understanding of crypto.
Hmm.
Crypto is Aquarian, right?
Yep.
And Aquarius rules technology and metaphysics, such as astrology, tarot, among other things, right?
Yep.
So if you get a cross of the two, it's a good combination. So I've had several tarot card readings from different readers that don't know anything about crypto,
Hmm.
and they said that Tether should be okay for this crash, but it will implode at some point. So, but the one thing about Tether, even though it's unbacked, they've just been printing it like hell. Let me tell you something. The crypto market would not have developed to this point if you didn't have Tether. So you could say it inflated the market, you know.
Right.
But you know, Tether's been around for a while, but you have these other emerging stable coins, like you're saying. There's DAI, and there's UST, the one that just imploded, and
Right.
then there's like Coinbase has theirs, right? So USDC,
Yeah.
that's actually I think is a Goldman Sachs, and Coinbase is basically government crypto.
Right.
So Goldman Sachs, they have a major hand in USDC, which is if you have a Coinbase account and the Coinbase ATM debit card, you load the Coinbase ATM debit card with USDC stablecoin tokens. Like one of those tokens equals $1,
Right.
right? You can swipe it and spend crypto that way. But I think it was Wednesday, was when the major event happened.
Right.
So there was this ecosystem. It's several coins, right? Connected to, it's called the Terra network.
Right.
It's the Terra Luna, right? So you had this stable coin Terra USD. It's
Hmm.
UST is the ticker, but it's like the Terra stable coin.
Right.
And then you had Luna, which is the larger crypto, and they work like as a pair, and they call it algorithm stable coin. So there's a relationship where supposedly if one drops some value, people should swap for that one, and then it'll balance out. But
Right. Right. Right.
well, we're in the age of chaos, right? We're
Yeah.
entering the age of chaos, age of Aquarius, right? It's working on certain assumptions. Like there will always be interest in this ecosystem, and people are not going to head for the hills and try to run with their money. That's exactly what happened,
So
right?
there was basically a bank run on
Right.
Luna.
Well,
Right.
and then also because when you're talking about these kind of things with like staking and those kind of things, is DeFi, right?
Hmm.
Decentralized finance.
Right.
So there's a lot of these protocols, coins, you know, yield farms that they're obviously now people are seeing it's risky, right?
Hmm.
One of the things about Terra Luna is they had this anchor protocol,
Yep.
which is like they're kind of like DeFi.
Yep.
It's part of their DeFi ecosystem. You could stake UST for 20%. That's unsustainable,
Yeah.
Even crypto.com, they have their Crow token, which they renamed Kronos for some reason, Robert. It was a
Mm.
Crow, CRO. But they were given 8% on their top tier crypto ATM debit card.
Hmm.
They just dropped it to 4 because 8% was unsustainable for them. The Terra Luna, the Anchor protocol, they're getting 20%, you know?
Yeah.
So number one, it was just, and there were some voices, there were some YouTubers and people on Twitter saying that, you know what, you better be careful of this UST and this the Luna, Terra Luna. So I think the Luna coin, it went from 120 just a few weeks ago
Hmm.
to 0.0000. It basically went to zero.
Right.
120. This was a top 10 crypto, Robert.
Yep.
So I sent you some of the tweets. There are people that they lost millions of dollars. Imagine millions of dollars going to zero overnight.
Yeah. I would.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure I can handle that. I mean,
Oh,
I
there's
could
been
probably handle the
suicides
reality.
also.
I mean, I've had nothing in my life. Like, I've been the guy searching around my couch for change. So, but if I had a million and then it went to zero, that would be an intense reality
And
check.
this is total with the totally like South Node Scorpio also, because
Well,
you're
and we have the
talking.
Luna thing with the lunar eclipse too.
Well, think about this, Robert. I was texting you last night. Doesn't it sound like the time we're in, like Terra Luna? It's like Terra reminds me of like Taurus or something, right? And
It
then the
is Taurus.
lunar eclipse.
Taurus really rules the earth.
Yeah. Also, I think that this crash, people can look into it, but I think this crash with the UST and the Luna, it happened maybe one day after we went into Jupiter and Aries.
Yeah.
So there might be something around that, you know.
Yeah. I've been trying to wrap my head around these nodes, and especially the
Uh,
south nodes, and where we are now with that south node in Scorpio. And we're seeing some of it with the crypto market in a big way. And the universe, the omniverse, is telling you, hey, we have a lunar eclipse, and Luna just went dark. I mean, really, that's
well,
what happened.
well, the other thing is that people, it's confirmed that people have committed suicide over this collapse of the Terra Luna.
Yeah.
And that's just the one that's the main focus of the news items right now, but there's a lot of positions that people held that went down. But I would say that that's total South Node Scorpio, because you're talking about like loss of assets,
Right.
and then South Node Scorpio, that could literally mean people leaving this earth, right?
Right. And we've
Yeah.
seen a lot of that. And again, it's dark, right? We're in the dark moon phase here right now.
Yeah.
And we've been in the eclipse window for about 7 days, 7.5 days already. And it just makes too much sense. It's like, yeah.
Can I throw out some quick
Yeah.
like bullet points? Okay, number
Yeah.
one, if you have any crypto on a crypto exchange, get a hard wallet and you know get it off the exchange. Send it to a personal wallet, because
Right.
especially now, you should have done this like weeks ago. But now that things are like, boo,
Hmm.
there's been rumors of cyber attack, these kind of things, especially some popular exchange like Coinbase. They're going to go for
Coinbase could go bankrupt.
information.
Everything's going,
But
right.
guess what, Robert? It could be that it's not a cyber attack. Coinbase, they could like go into bankruptcy.
That's, yeah, absolutely.
So if that happens, any of the crypto on their exchange, it could be seized for a bankruptcy proceeding, right?
Yep.
But if you
Yep.
have it off the exchange, then no problem.
Right.
Number two, never trade with leverage, or well, I would say don't take out any loans or borrow against credit
Yeah,
card.
yeah. If you haven't learned from the Great Depression
Yeah,
and studied history, you may want to bone up
yeah,
on that.
because that's one of the things that's gotten people into trouble with this. Well, why it's bad to lose money, but why are people thinking about jumping out of windows? Is because they were trading with leverage or against a house or something like that, and now they're caught, right?
Yeah.
So never trade with leverage. And other than that, I would just say that, like I mentioned earlier, we're gonna have this. We're gonna continue to go down, especially after this May 16th eclipse, the Scorpio moon
Yeah.
eclipse in the
Yeah.
16th.
Yeah.
That'll, I think, accelerate more selling. Uh, and then we'll bottom out, and then it should rally for a few months, but then we will have another crash this fall. So I think that if you have some gains between the bottom of this crash and the next one in the fall, you might want to think about selling a portion or something like that. Just like I did before
Right.
this crash
Yeah.
started.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to have to do it again in a couple months,
Mhm.
right? Because what I learned is, they have the hodl thing where you just sit and hold your position.
Yeah.
I could have a lot more, Robert, if and I'm not a person to sell the entire position, but take the cream off the top. You see these moves?
Hmm.
If it goes like this and you don't take any profit, you're gonna just
Right.
give it back up.
Yeah.
So
The hodl is a collective agreement that people have,
yeah,
and they believe that if they all hodl or
uh,
hold, that they'll maintain the price, and the price
yeah,
could even go higher. Like
yeah,
a tide rises all boats, right? Raises all boats. So that's the whole idea behind that. But even if people are hodling, it doesn't always mean that the currency will sustain itself or even grow for that matter.
well, you know what? I'm not a day trader, but I think the professional financial people, they're not that emotionally attached to positions. So,
Oh no.
yeah. Well, I'll put it to you this way, Robert. Shiba Inu, it peaked, I would say, about 4 times above where it is right now. But I
Mm-hmm.
didn't sell at the top.
Well, I
I
saw
sold. I sold right before this dump.
right,
But even then, Robert, if I bought back in today, I would double my position. We're gonna dump more.
right,
So that's what I was saying. When I gave the heads up over a month ago, you didn't even have to be that keen on crypto or trading or whatever, because I sold at a low, and I'm still gonna be able to double my position. You
right.
know. So
Yeah.
yeah.
What about this Do Kwon guy? What do
Okay,
you
so Do Kwon. Some people, I mean, it's terrible. Some people are calling him like the Homer Simpson Do, like DOH Do Kwon.
yeah.
So he was the president of the Terra Luna, you know, coins, the ecosystem.
Yep.
South Korean guy, and the guy's only like 30, 31. He was born in 91. So
He's a millennial still. Yeah.
he's young. This is crazy, right? A guy that's young is controlling the financial destiny of millions of people.
Well, he's got Pluto and Scorpio, and
uh-huh.
it's a late degree, right? Because Pluto probably right around then is around maybe 24, 25.
Uh-huh.
So his Pluto would be conjunct this eclipse, right?
Well, people. So apparently he lives in Korea.
Yeah.
People went somehow. They found out where he lived, and
Oh boy.
they're after him. They knocked on his door or something like that. But very arrogant, I would say, guy. If you look at his interviews,
Hmm.
and he actually made another. I forget the name. A couple years ago, he made another stable coin that collapsed. Also, see, people didn't do their homework. I would say invest in what if you got to understand or feel comfortable with what you're putting your money in.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they just said like, oh, it's a top 10 coin, I could get 20% interest. Shoot, just park my money there. Well, you just lost everything, right? But very interesting, Robert. I ran his birthday, which I believe is September 6th, 1991.
Right.
You
You sent
combine
that
all
to
the
me. Yeah.
numbers. The primary number in numerology is the life path, full combination of the birthday.
Yep.
Life path 8, Robert. Eight's the number of Saturn Capricorn. Life path 8's one of the more difficult ones to ride, and that basically represents this guy, Do Kwon. Uh, his lifetime difficulty or challenge is, big wins and big losses financially, and also the lesson of power, right? So he was very arrogant, even I think as recently as like a month ago. It might even been less than that. He was saying, oh yeah, 95% of these cryptos, they're gonna die off, haha. He goes, I know what I'm doing. And with less than a month, it could have been just a few weeks, his his project implodes, right? And I think it went from something like 40 billion market cap, the Luna coin,
Hmm.
to half a million. So you're talking about 40 billion.
Yeah.
Oh, to like half a billion.
Yep.
So it basically went to zero.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but
So people will
yeah.
ask the question, where does that money go? Does it just evaporate?
Well, in a generality, if you were
Right.
shorting the market, there's always money to be made, Robert. But
Right.
I think why is this happening? Because we really didn't go into it. I'm pretty certain that there are big financial powers that, there were names being thrown around like Citadel, BlackRock. They've been preparing this for a while,
Yeah.
probably months at least. And these hedge funds, they're in banking powers. They're at all of the Bitcoin Miami conferences and things like that. And people
Right.
knew they were there, and they were probably making contacts and scoping out who's going to be the best victim, right?
Hmm.
I think Do Kwon, he didn't know the secret handshake or whatever secret handshakes whatever group he's in, it wasn't strong enough because he got taken out. So
Right.
what are the implications of this? Well, number one, it came out the same day, basically. Janet Yellen, Fed, they're saying, okay, there's a problem with these stable coins and we're going to have to heavily regulate it, right? So it gives them a excuse or reason to regulate crypto more.
Yep.
Number two, I think that they're washing out the market to make money, but then also we're in a general market collapse this year. So I think they just don't want any safe haven in crypto right now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um and yeah, I mean, it's like you're controlling the flow of the market and hurting people in certain directions.
Right.
So, but I still do think that long term, if you're talking like year two out, if you watch crypto and you understand where it's going, I think there's still value there. And I'm a realist too. I'm
Yeah.
heavily invested, but I'm a realist.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something, Robert. I had multiple tarot card readings because it's such a minefield right now
Hmm.
for the markets. Uh, and even though all three readers who don't know anything about crypto all said that Tether stablecoin should be okay for now,
Hmm.
that's three confirmations, right? In my mind, I still know it could still implode, right? You got to have that understanding because with crypto, it's Aquarian, so
Yeah. You can't. I mean, the
you
whole
never
thing
know
with
for sure.
crypto,
But
you
why
can't
am I in
sleep
it?
on it. You
Well,
can't
you know
sleep on
why?
it.
Because eventually this thing's going to go to the moon. So, you know? Yeah. And I
Yeah.
would say this too, in like a year or two, if you're sitting on major profits, and I'm talking major profits, right? Take those profits because I don't think crypto will be if you have millions sitting on the table, or let's say hundreds of thousands or even a
Mhm.
100,000, right? You may want to take it off the table at that point, like in like 2 years, because that may disappear in the future, right? So
Well, yeah, I think there will always be some form of blockchain
yeah.
and cryptocurrency moving forward, even if
Mhm.
it's the so-called national or federal global version of it, which isn't all that interesting. But I also feel like there are going to be other tokens and other blockchains that will still exist.
Mhm.
And if there is value there and you can derive value from it, and there's either a third party or underground way of redeeming that value, then I think there's a long position. I don't think it's going away. I feel like things are getting shaken out,
Mhm.
and and I do believe that 2 year period that you're talking about is kind of on the mark astrologically. We go into that Saturn and Pisces
Right.
territory, Neptune and Pisces. I'm really concerned, and I was thinking about this today. I'm really concerned when the nodes go into Aries and Libra. I'm concerned about that nodal shift.
That would be next summer, right?
Yeah, I'm concerned about it.
That I think, doesn't that mean war, Robert?
Yeah,
True note Aries.
yeah. So that means that things are going to
Uh,
get hot, right? Really hot.
yeah.
And we've seen the debilitation of the South Node play out. In Sagittarius, it was like law. What law? There is no law.
Mm-hmm.
And Gemini, a law for me and a law for thee, right? I mean, that's how that. I mean, there's a lot more going on. Now we're seeing again the debilitation of the South Node in Scorpio, and people are losing their shirts if they're engaged in this. Even by the way, 401ks are starting to take a hit too. Like it's not
Oh, well, you know what?
not
Again,
not just crypto, right?
not financial advice, but if
Yeah,
it was me, okay,
yeah,
this is just me, not financial advice, but if you have a sizable position in a 401k or IRA,
yep,
if it was me, I would take the tax hit and ask for what they call a distribution, cash it out.
yep.
Because I think all paper is going to burn, Robert.
Yeah, and
You know?
so I've been tracking some of the 401k
Yeah.
stuff, and they're starting to, they're starting to trend downward, right, and eating into people's retirement. So, and I always thought that the 401k, I get it, right, you want to make up for the cost of living and all that stuff, right, but I always thought that the 401k thing was a scam. And
Well, you know what? For me, I gave up on that on my last full time job, which was actually in the early 2000s.
yeah, yeah,
But I cashed my, what little I didn't have a lot, but I cashed it out and the lady says, "What are you gonna do with this?" I was like, "Lady, I can make more money on my own and pay the taxes than leaving it in some 401k that I can't touch for who knows how long."
you tell her you're going to sell crack. I'm going to become a crack
Yeah.
dealer.
Let me say this too. One of the things about this, the kind of like the crypto crash right now,
Yeah.
is I think it's putting a focus on what are these different classes of cryptos, and
Mhm.
obviously, I think some of the DeFi stuff, like the staking and yield farming, and getting 20% plus interest just by parking your coin somewhere. You better know what you're into, you know. And I think this is also going to put a focus back on some of the more traditional coins, the Bitcoin forks like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin, Digibyte, DGB. That's a good one. It's like under 2 cents right now.
Mm,
So, because those, they're not going to go away. Those like old school blockchains, all the forks
right.
of Bitcoin, they're still going to be around.
Yeah.
And I like Shiba Inu, but it's again, I think most people they don't spend much time understanding crypto, and just for reemphasis, I I've talked to some people that are casual crypto people, which is most people, Robert, right? If they're even in it, and a lot of them they don't even know what a wallet is. They think you just buy crypto and it sits on Coinbase.
Hmm.
You better get that crypto off of Coinbase.
Yeah.
Put it in your own wallet. So,
Yeah.
$60 for a hard wallet will save your butt. Okay. So
Yep. That's the third time you've said it. So if you're
yeah.
not paying attention, it's on you at this point.
Yep.
Any final words, thoughts that you want to share with people before we send you off into your wild and wonderful LA weekend?
I think that what's happening right now is no surprise. But
Hmm.
when you see it happen in real time, still an eyebrow raiser. But I think long term, the crypto will still be. It has a big run still. It's just that give it some time and then take note of the larger, like yearly or multi-month cycles. And like I said, this will bottom out, I think, in June, and we'll have a run, and then we're gonna the crash, the crypto crash at the end of this year. Oh, it's gonna be atomic winter. But guess what? If you, like I said, you don't even have to like sell all your positions. But if you take the top off of this next run and you buy back again when it drops down, you're never gonna see these prices again. Never.
Right.
And guess what? Most people say, "Oh, it's over. Crypto was a scam." And then in 2023, 2024, they're gonna be like, "Why did why did I sell all my
I
crypto?"
think you're right. I think you're right on this one.
you know.
Yeah.
And guess what? The bankers love this because most people lose money on emotional trades.
Hmm.
Yep.
Wow. Good
And thank
stuff.
you, Robert, because You know, I think you've created something special here with your show and the Chatlandia people. And, you know, we're no geniuses, but guess what? If you put focus and attention, which is a kind of a work, well, Saturn rewards putting that elbow grease in. And
Yeah.
although, like, being aware is something that we like to do,
Hmm.
there's a value in that. And I think we proved it here, you
No,
know?
I
Yeah.
agree. I mean, it's, we are kind of a node, right? Like we're a
Yep.
node with, and Chatlandia is a node and Emily's World is a node. So we have all these different nodes. And a lot of these people are really, really smart. In fact, I would say you're all smart. And there's a lot of crossover with these various nodes, but this is a great node. And it's a byproduct. Like you're being here, you're talking about this stuff, you're giving people a heads up. It's a byproduct of the consciousness
Mhm.
that we accumulate together. So yeah, thanks for pointing that out. And I agree with you. It's a really great group.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, it's good talking to you today, Robert. And hey, I haven't given up on crypto. You know, look, still rocking the Doge shirts.
That's loyalty. That's the loyalty thing with the dog, right? That's a loyalty
Well,
piece.
you know what? I'm in the Doge cult, and since we're in a Uranus and Taurus, Taurus does rule cults and cult followings.
Yeah.
And you know what? I was along for the ride even before I knew Doge was actually going to be a thing, like as far as money wise. So,
Yeah.
yep,
Yeah. Well, it's been great to watch you do all this stuff. Masaki, thanks. Have yourself a great weekend, okay?
yep. You too.
All
Happy
right, we'll
Friday,
take care.
everybody. Bye
We'll
bye.
see you again. All right. Masaki Miyagawa, this is what you get here. You're going to get full on real time reportage like that because that's how we roll, right? Um, so thanks again, Masaki. We're waiting for Sqirl here. So Sqirl, if you are listening, I sent you a link. And Sqirl is going to be talking about biochar because we're in Taurus. We're still in Taurus season. So I wanted to bring some people on today that could talk about the material world and how there are things that we can do in the material world that can help us, right? That there are things that are providential if we understand how to work with the material. And biochar is a really important component to all of this. You may ask, what is biochar? Well, we're going to bring Jenna on, aka Sqirl, to find out. Here she is. Hey, Jenna, are you there? All right. Are you there?
Hey,
All right. You got your camera on? Do you want to go camera? There you are.
yeah,
There
yeah.
she is. What's going
Hi.
on? What's going on? How are you?
Great.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
You're
I
welcome.
think the talk about Bitcoin and bank vault makes me think of the bank vault of the soil. And that leads perfectly into my conversation about biochar and the importance of carbon.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of the terms of, the collapse coming on bring my mind back to all the reading I've done about the the dust recovery and the understanding of how depleted our soils are.
Right.
So it's a great day to talk about biochar and the secret of terra preta. I heard the term terra luna, and terra preta is the dark earth story. And there's a great documentary from the BBC, The Secret of El Dorado, the story of terra preta, and what they discovered in the Amazon and the dark earth that revealed that in ancient civilization, they were utilizing charcoal for their agriculture. And currently, today, we see that there's a carbon credit market. There is a price put on carbon, and it's exchanged just like Bitcoin is exchanged. It's monetized, it's digitized. and bringing it to a simple person that loves to garden, and all of the practice that we have put into improving soil to make nutrient dense foods, because soils are depleted around the world for a variety of reasons. But making closed loop systems is what I'd like to share, because there are so many. Oh, go ahead.
No, I said okay. So just to let people know, this is Sqirl, Sqirl in chat. So you'll know her by Sqirl. Here you can read her name as Jenna. It's her alter ego, and
Yeah.
she's been wanting to talk about biochar for quite a while, and we were just waiting for the right day and the right time, and here it is. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. Floor is yours.
Okay. Well, first of all, biochar is calcified carbon, and there's a carbon, but carbon is essential for all plants to grow. So the combination of carbon and oxygen is the fine combination that grows healthy plants. There's a lot more to it, but what we've found by repurposing bio waste, by burning it, heating it, denying it oxygen, we can make charcoal at home. And that has been an element to remediate our soil through adding. Well, first of all, we did do soil analysis. I really got into the science behind what's going on down there, what grows healthy food, because I've always had a garden and I've failed a lot, and it is a lot of hard work, but I'm really interested in it. Everyone loves a bonfire, and we live semi-rural outside of Olympia. So it's a neighborhood community, pretty large parcels of acreage for each resident. We're caretakers, so typically we are removing a lot of biomass. We're in a temperate rainforest. Trees fall over. Trees are dying. There's a lot of die-off happening. And there's always a risk of a wildfire. People, and especially on the West Coast. So, I think that talking about biochar and ways of reducing wildfire risk is a small aspect of what people can protect themselves, and it's a twofer. You can actually gain by making biochar out of bio waste. I even have systems to like in my kitchen, I can make biochar out of pistachio shells, out of pits, out of waste in the garden. All of these things I set aside and I don't look at as waste anymore. I see as fuel to make biochar. So calcified carbon is stable, and it serves as like a giant magnet in the soil. It's the master magnet. All of the negative and positive cation exchanges happening in the soil in a garden system, they rely on carbon to stabilize all of the movement and balance itself out. So how carbon is working in our garden is that we're using it to break up the clay that we have. There's a variety of different soils, and it depending on where you live in bioregion. So we get a soil analysis. We see what minerals we're lacking. NPK fertilizing, those chemical salts destroy the life in agricultural land. That's been happening for a very long time. And the economy has been controlled, and farm parity, the price on crops, what farmers get, have brought it to mass ag farmers letting go of the nature of true soil science, which was well studied after the Dust Bowl. Mm-hmm. Cornell University in 1940 set up a special laboratory to study soil health, knowing that it directly relates to the health of the people. They've known this for a long time, and yet it's a controlled system, and it's controlling the health of the population and the dependency on pharmaceuticals. It's just like chemical fertilizers. They're bad. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So and with the added socialization of food systems, USDA, the Forest Service, the conservation corps that Roosevelt started. It removed people from taking that responsibility to understand or know what to do. Food was cheap in the stores. It was easier to do that.
Right.
You know, 100 years ago, 80% of the population all had backyard gardens. And that's reduced now to, you know, people are so busy. It takes time, focus, patience, energy, and it is work. And without understanding the nature of soils and what it needs, I think there could be a lot of failures. People give up. So
Yep.
it isn't easy. It isn't easy. But biochar can create an economy. And that's because we're repurposing what other people would look like as waste. Just get rid of it. We've done landscaping. Brian has done tree work for like 30 years. So taking down a whole tree, what do you do with it?
Right.
So that's where we've learned different ways to not only make biochar from like all the tree debris. We can bring it, instead of just burn it into a brush pile and make a lot of ash, it's simply quenching the fire.
Right.
That it's not rocket science. And there are kilns for backyards for urban people that give off less CO2, less smoke. There are innovations around the world because people are recognizing carbon is necessary to put in the garden soil. With the tests that I've done, the soil analysis over the past 12 years, I've learned that through this mineral balance, it has reduced the aluminum toxicity level. And wherever that aluminum's coming from, mineral balance and the micro are doing the work. So it's through balance mineralization, just like in our bodies, the trace elements, the trace minerals that we all require, selenium, the boron, the manganese, iron, all of those things, each garden plot will need a little bit of tweaking. But over the past 12 years, I've had to purchase less minerals because I'm realizing that carbon in there is holding on. Mm-hmm. And the secret of Terra Preta down in South America, it's like 1500 years, or it was in the 1500s that this civilization existed. And to this day, the areas of agriculture they were cultivating, all of the life in the soils are still producing. It's being actually mined off and marketed locally because the life is still held in all of the charcoal that was used.
Interesting.
I think it is interesting. Just recently, we saw this video on the scorched earth theory that was revealing in all these different parts of the world that there must have been some catastrophic fires that buried Roman civilization, like they've mined beneath all of this.
Well, we think it might be Roman civilization.
Coins, right? Yeah, it could have been related to Tartaria,
exactly,
for that matter.
Yeah.
But the timeline, this documentary, I did put it in the chat a couple minutes ago, Scorched Earth. He was saying his timeline assesses that Terra Preta and also Serbia and also like Viking, what was that? I forgot the name of it, but a Viking site where they found ships underneath this black soil. They knew it wasn't agriculture because they found ships and all these coins and artifacts. I did think that was interesting.
Let me ask you a question. Because I've got you till about 1:25 my time, because I've got another guest coming on. So what I'd love to do is have you just talk people through how you go about actually creating biochar.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Optimum conditions would be that we have cured, dry biomass. So in the past, we've taken down a tree, and asked a property owner with acreage if we could just stack it up on some logs up off the ground and cover it with plastic for a couple months, because it was a big cherry tree, lots of branches, and they agreed. So it was right next to the fire department too. So we invited them over to watch the char burn. We wanted to put on a demonstration at the fire department so that we could promote, this is what people can do, because everybody burns their brush out here.
Right.
So after it's dried and cured, it goes really fast. And I do have a YouTube channel. They're crappy videos, but we have a Indonesian trough, which is a steel trough that has an angle to it that creates airflow that brings the oxygen goes to the top of the flame, leaving the charcoal. So as we build up the fire, the charcoal remains at the bottom, and then we can extinguish it in this tub. So that's how we did that burn. I mean, we've done a lot of different types, but that one, we just loaded up this bin. But I've seen A Sqirl Cult on YouTube, and also David the Good on YouTube demonstrate how they make biochar right on the ground. So doing a ground fire and just having a hose at the ready. If it's all dry, it can all go up really quick. And as you see it starting to turn to ash, you extinguish it completely.
So it's kind of like when you're barbecuing and you start to see the coals get gray, right? That's when you want to hit it. So from start to finish, and I know it depends on the mass, but from start to finish, your average biochar conversion, how long does that take you? That's not including putting it under wrap so it can cure. Like when the flame hits it to the time you hit it with the hose, how long average would it take?
For a whole tree, about 4 to 5 hours.
Okay, 4 to 5 hours.
Because we're just loading and loading. Yeah. So it's a day's work for sure. Yeah, it's a focused, we're going to make biochar. This is what we're doing. And then from that point, we're still not done, because opening up all the pores of the charcoal allows more stuff to get in that you want to put in your garden soil. So that's where the inoculation occurs. So we have like a little chipper, and all of that wet biochar, because we extinguish it all, it's all moist. It goes through the chipper, and then it's micronized to like rice-sized pieces. And that's where we'll throw it then in our compost. But other people, we can also experiment and do like tea concoctions to inoculate it, put what we want in there, and then put that into the garden soil. And so there's 4 M's that I use. We first moisten, micronize, microbialize, and mineralize, because really that's the goal of wanting at the plant roots. So from there, we're tilling it into the garden.
So really, it doesn't take that long. You have to be patient until the wood cures. That takes a little bit of time. But if you're doing this on a semi-regular basis, you would have different stacks ready to go at different times. So you could have one stack kind of close, another stack ready, and another stack maybe in the heavy curing phase. You could just kind of rotate these things, and you could be fully up to speed with biochar. Okay, so we know that it's got great property for the soil.
Yeah.
Right. And what kind of difference in yield have you seen when you apply the biochar into your gardening?
I have had incredible results. One year when we inoculated and used like a sea mineral slurry, incredible. I had overabundance. I ended up selling like 150 pounds of winter squash and pumpkins down at the gas station. It was just like, wow. That's my video is Biochar Garden Tour 2019. And you can see like the size of our garden, my worm bins, because that's another great easy way to get rid of your coffee grounds and kitchen scraps in a box with worms, because their leachate has a lot of microbial bacteria that is very helpful in the garden. So it's a system that works for me. because an open compost draws rats and mice. We don't want that. So really, our compost system at the garden is basically grass clippings and leaves, just like brush from around the property.
Yep.
Or yeah, those sort of things, because that's natural and it doesn't attract rats or mice.
Go ahead.
Well, I did want to mention that people that don't have access to water wherever they're having a burn, they can bury it. We've seen trench systems. Snow is another way to put out fire. This is for the courageous that want to work with fire, but at the same time, it can become a neighborhood system, where that's when people get together and have a burn together.
Right.
A designated area, people have their trailers, they bring it all in, they have a burn, everybody leaves with biochar.
And we're in Jupiter and Aries, so fire is pretty prevalent in terms of its astrological expression. True node in Taurus, which is Earth mass and Earth matter. So astrologically, this might be the time to get into biochar. We have this big issue going on right now with the fertilizers that are being essentially blocked by the Biden administration. And we know this, right? And these fertilizer manufacturers are being told that they can't ship it. And we tend to look at this as, well, this is a terrible thing, right? It's a terrible thing. Well, that fertilizer goes into, these massive farms where they create massive amounts of food, most of which is genetically modified. So we have an opportunity now, if we need fertilizer, and let's say it's on a community level, here comes biochar to the rescue. We can create our own fertilizer. We don't need this ammoniated stuff, which is the byproduct of some other industrial processing, which we don't even want to get into right now. But speak to that a little bit, how this is really the potential for people to have a DIY kind of approach to where we are with our gardens, both personally and like a community garden.
Yeah, definitely. Well, first of all, I do want to give warnings out there that people that are building their compost and bringing things onto their site, like manures or hay or straw. Grazon is another chemical that's insidious and can destroy gardens. So that's why we've been closed loop. Everything right here, keep it all in and build soil with what we've got. And there's time and labor, but it's all available. So biochar itself, it helps to have it amended, but Skill Cult down in California, he's like, I don't inoculate it. I throw it in there. Photosynthesis, the plant's cation exchange at the root level basically will build. And over time, it inoculates itself. The microbes move in anyway, like they're little apartment complexes. So closed loop systems can be done, and also an economy out of it. The neighbor down the road is an elderly lady. She can't cut her lawn. That grass, if she's not spraying, that can be taken home and put in your compost. It's a twofer. These can create different ways to help each other, trade. The neighbor across the street isn't using a 20-foot by 20-foot area. Can I fence that in, grow some vegetables here? I'll give you some surplus. This can be a unit of exchange, and also the biochar is just a systems management with knowing a little bit more and educating others on, repurposing waste, because, people have those bins that they put out by the road to remove all that, and that's fuel. We don't go after other people's waste, but if we're asked or hired to do something like that, it's everybody wins. They're happy that it got removed, they're tidying up, and we're able to utilize it in the garden soil. Mm-hmm.
So here we have a bag of biochar. It's $30. You can get it at Home Depot, the Bill Club, and it looks like it's $43 at Walmart if it's the same size. So there's the potential here for people, if they're really smart, like you guys are, and you can figure out where you're going to get your mass from, that you may actually be able to do a little cottage industry around this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a tradable commodity. People that don't have the time of it. We've mailed biochar to a couple of different places across the country in trade because it's fun. I mean, it makes it more of an enrichment of putting this much attention towards what? Nutrient dense vegetables. Why not?
Right.
I do want to add in, there was an educator down in Oregon, Ken Carloni, and he does biochar in the forest down there. And he's like, no inoculation. They just make it and drop it. And he's making it out of green wood.
Mm.
We have done that also. There's more smoke. You don't have to completely cure your wood. It's the fastest. It burns right away, but
Right.
it can be done out of anything.
Mhm.
The blackberries go in, anything. And we have made, it was a whole willow tree that fell over. It was green and it burned real quick and it made quite a biochar.
We split it.
Oh yeah, that's right. We did split it.
Mhm. Well, I think this is a great idea. And it's one of those things, it's like an economy that's right out there. It's right out your front door, just hanging out. And with a little bit of effort and a little bit of planning and some attention to detail, you can get all sorts of benefits out of this. For your own personal garden, you can trade it out, you can sell it, and it connects you into the cycle of life. And really, if we're looking at it astrologically with the true node in Taurus, this is what we're doing here, because Scorpio is transformative, right? This is what Scorpio does. So you're transforming this one thing to another state. So, I mean, this is your perfect kind of alchemy for the nodal axis that we're in.
Right. And it also cleans the water. We've seen systems with, it's just biochar and sand.
Mhm.
There are different, I think in Port Townsend, they were cleaning stormwater with biochar. So we haven't done that experiment, but I do want to do it. Take some gross pond water and
Right.
put it through a 5-gallon bucket of sand and charcoal. And I also bought a book, charcoalremedies.com, and there's a bunch of ways to use it internally and for poultices, because it draws out the nature of carbon. It absorbs toxins just like clay.
Right.
Yeah, so it's not bad to keep that, in the medicine cabinet.
Yeah.
Toothaches in a tea bag.
Right. So there's a whole space here where if you have any kind of curiosity, just dive in. Like what can you do with this, right? We know the baseline stuff, but I'm sure there's some Booker T. Washingtons out there that could really push the envelope with biochar and its variants. Why don't you give people your YouTube channel again and any other resources that you want to share?
Oh, well, sure. My YouTube channel is A Sqirl, Sqirl, on YouTube, A Sqirl. And then also I started co-hosting on Bridget's Well, the healing elements of life on Revolution Radio, Studio B, Sundays.
Oh, cool.
11 a.m. to 1. Yeah. Pacific. Yes.
Yeah, we'll put those links in the show notes too after we do this.
Okay. Great.
So I have a friend coming on here in about 10 minutes, and she's really big into hemp. She has a hemp business, and this is not hemp that becomes CBD, but hemp that's turned into building products and building supplies. And she said that there's a very symbiotic relationship between hemp and biochar. You know anything about that at all?
Well, I do know that they're putting biochar to reinforce concrete. And I also learned that it actually reflects EMFs in that building material, which I think was very interesting. And also, I know hemp as the plant itself helps remineralize the soil. So in that way, it is, they're similar. And see, I think that the soil consultant that we've known for a number of years, he's an old duffer, but he loves soils. Most of his business was for hemp growers, had designed a lot of different soil combinations for hemp growers. And in Oregon, there is a big turbine biochar producer that feeds into the grid. And the byproduct, the biochar that they make, is designed for hemp growers. Like that's their biggest client.
So are they commercial biochar manufacturers? Yes. That's interesting. Wow. Very cool.
And then the energy from the turbine. And that's another aspect of it. The innovation that we've come up with and we've seen in other farms, as they're making biochar, it's high heat. Capturing that to heat water can go into floor pipes of your house, can heat a greenhouse throughout the winter. We've seen people that do that in like high altitude Montana. They have a sauna, they're making biochar, and they're heating their greenhouses. Wow. So multi-purpose utilization of energy. Yeah.
You know, what really blows my mind, and it really shouldn't, but what blows my mind is when you look at the dominant paradigm in the green economy and the carbon-based credit system and all the bullshit that they've hooked up, there are so many other unique, visionary, accessible, low-touch tools that we can do and have access to that are way better. They're just way better, and they're way more decentralized and independent, and that never gets talked about. Like this never gets talked about. And and I've been looking into, you know, what's behind the scenes for a long time. And it always blows my mind that we just get force fed whatever this paradigm is. And it's really not the most unique or visionary or novel at all. So this is great. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. We did just see yesterday in Australia, they're making biochar out of biosolids.
So what does that mean?
Char out of the poop.
Char out of poop.
And
wow. So
it takes out all the
human poop, animal poop, all the poop.
Poop. Yep.
Wow.
So yeah.
No waste. No waste, right?
None. No. And cleaning up toxic sites. We've seen these like tubes of biochar being dumped in the Great Lakes because around industry, the lakes are getting destroyed. So, you know, biochar remediation, and that's what it is. Charcoal.
Go biochar. Well, Jenna, this has been great. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I know you've been wanting to do this for a while, and I think this was a good day.
You did it.
No, you did it. I just hit the switch. Well, listen, you take care. Have a great weekend, and enjoy this eclipse. And somewhere down the line, we'll bring you back on. Maybe we'll talk a little communitarianism, which I know will excite the other part of your team there.
Yeah. Thank you. Sounds great. All right. Have a good one. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye, Jenna. All right. Jenna, also known as A Sqirl, that's capital A Sqirl. You can find her on YouTube, and I'll make sure that I put the link to her YouTube channel in the show notes. So kind of an interesting thing we got going on here today, right? We have Masaki coming on. We're dealing with hard assets, soft assets, and kind of the Scorpio. We're in the South Node there with Masaki. Then we bring Jenna on, and she's talking about biochar, which is, you know, earth mass, right? Trees, branches, the stuff that's Tauran, right? Taurus, earth related, and putting heat to it and transforming it and having an alchemical relationship with this these gifts that we have here, and then applying them and reinvesting in our environment. And even, there, I had those pages up there. There are people that are making money off of selling biochar. So if you have any kind of inclination or desire to capitalize on a really probably low overhead, low cost kind of operation, do it yourself, play with it, get a chipper, micronize it, sell it locally. We got farmers market season coming up here. I'm sure people would love to buy somebody because we do have seasonal planting, and some areas have a longer growing season than others. And I think biochar would be, it'd be kind of a cool thing. If you're in between jobs, you don't want to work for somebody else, there you go. It's out there. It's available. And if you're motivated, you might have a new cottage industry. You might have a new career path waiting for it. Now, I could tell, I didn't want to say this when she was on because I didn't want to bring the whole thing down. But I could easily see, well, we're going to have a ban on burns because those burns are bad for the environment. So then what do? Well, do you see those kilns? Like, I know it's an investment, but they have those massive kilns where you could do pretty much what they're doing, but it wouldn't be an open burn. And maybe you could do some of it beneath the surface, and maybe that's a whole other thing. You can kind of get around an open burn. We're going to have to learn some of these hacks because as the supply chain begins to break down, there's more and more impediments that the Biden administration, not just the Biden administration, but we're talking WEF. This is a global thing now, right? It's global. But it's going to hit us here the hardest because they want Americans to feel the pain. It's time to feel the pain. It's time to move you out of your relative wealth and abundance and into a new form of austerity. And they're playing Robin Hood here, right? It's got to be some kind of a weird. Like some kind of a weird alchemy that's related to like the philosophy of some kind of a lodge, right? We're gonna steal from the rich, and we're gonna give to the poor. I mean, that's kind of what's going on in some ways, although there's a lot of giving to the rich at the same time too, right? But look at the baby formula thing again. That's coming right into the true node in Taurus and the south node in Scorpio. I talked about this yesterday on my show, where you look at Taurus and what are you talking about? You're talking about Isis. You're talking about, mothers, terra firma, right? The life force, which is in that phase, it's maternal. You can't get it. Where's it going? Well, apparently it's going to the border. That's what they're telling us. So it's a Robin Hood moment, right? It's a Robin Hood moment. We're going to take from the middle class, the upper middle class, the people who use the formula. In our household, we didn't use the formula. And I was not a formula kid, and my kid was not a formula kid. But there are some people that will do it. I'm not here to bag on them or judge them, right? But what are they doing? They're sending it to the border because they want to make sure their border babies get the formula. And it's also a big fuck you, right? That's what's happening. When they send it off to the border, it's a big fuck you. They're just telling you, see, we're taking the things that you normally get, that you have taken for granted all these years. You just go down to your store, and there's some truth to this, by the way. In some ways, they're kind of teaching us a bit of a lesson. I mean, if you want to look at this from a more expansive place, in a more benevolent point of view, right? Philosophically, this is a lesson, and people should be looking at this as a wake-up call. And when you have somebody like Jenna on who talks about biochar, here you go. Here's a solution, right? No fertilizer. Go burn some wood. Get it to a point where you got this thing down, and you unhook yourself from the system. Keep unhooking yourself from the system and realizing that there are things to be grateful for. And and being able to invest in them. Okay, I can't see you, Linda. You're not in. Finally, I'm in and I can hear, but I don't see you. You're not, I don't see you in. There's no participant. You have to link in. I give up. I can't get on. I can't hear anything. Finally, I'm on and I can hear. I'm not, Linda, I'm not, I'm going to invite you again. So you got to click on the link and there can be sometimes they ask for a code, right? There's a meeting ID and a passcode. So I'm going to send this to you again. And worst case scenario, I'll just call you up. So let me give her a call here because she's we don't want her to abandon ship out of frustration.
Okay. So yeah, let's see. Hang on. So I send this to you again. And,
so I've got you on my phone now, right?
I'll just call you up.
There you are. Good job. Okay, we did it. Persistence and patience carries the day.
Let's see. Hang on.
There you are. So I've got you on my phone now, right?
Okay.
So you got to mute the YouTube channel because I can hear myself.
Okay, we did it. Okay, because you're on my computer, so
persistence and patience.
Should I hang up my phone?
Carries the day. Yes, hang up your phone.
Okay, it's gone.
All right, let's see. That's better. There you are. Okay. Now I'm hearing myself again. I don't know why that's happening. You gotta mute the YouTube channel because I can hear myself. Okay, we did it.
Okay, because you're on my computer.
I hear you. I'm hearing myself. Got a bit of an echo here. Hold on. Let's make sure that the channel is muted. Let me just see here. Is my channel muted? Yeah, I think the channel's muted. Yeah, the channel's muted. All right. I think we're good. How are you? Can you hear me? No, I can't hear you. Hold on. You got to unmute there, Linda.
I'm unmuting.
There you go. All right.
Are we done? We're there?
We're there. So we got a bit of an echo. I don't know why, but don't worry about it. I'll work through it. The channel's muted. All right. I think we're good. How are you?
No, pretty good. Thank you for asking.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I enjoy.
I can't hear you.
Oh, great.
No. There's a weird delay here, and I don't know why we're having this delay, but it's okay.
It's because we're having
there
an
you
eclipse.
Go. All right.
Are we done? We're there?
We're there. So we got a bit of an echo. I don't know why, but don't worry about it. I'll work through it. All right. We're good. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. Thank you for asking. Yes, I enjoy. I can't hear you. Oh, great.
No. There's a weird delay here, and I don't know why. I don't know why this delay is happening, but we'll sort through it. Anyway, this is my good friend Linda, whom I've known since 1994, and she's throwing her hands up in the air, and we're supposed to be talking about hemp. So I'll see where we go with this and see if the echo isn't too bad here. No. There's a weird delay.
It's repeating.
I don't know why this delay is happening, but we'll sort through it. Anyway, this is my good friend. So, do you have my YouTube channel open? Are you watching also on YouTube?
Yeah. Live on YouTube.
So mute that channel. We're supposed to be talking about. Just mute it. There's a mute button there. Okay. I think that's better. Can you hear me okay? Okay, you just muted your own mic though. You got just mute the YouTube channel. Either that or get off the YouTube channel, one of the two. Are you watching also on YouTube?
Yeah.
So mute that channel. We're supposed to be talking about yeah, just mute it. Do you see where this you take your cursor over the YouTube channel and there's a thing where it has like a little, I think that's better, volume speaker. That's the mute. Okay, you just muted your own mic though. You got just mute the YouTube channel. Either that or just get off the YouTube channel. One of the two. Close the YouTube channel window. So mute that channel. We're supposed to be talking about. You see where this take your cursor over the YouTube channel and there's a thing where it has like a little, I think that's volume speaker. That's the mute. Okay, you just muted your own mic. You got to just mute the YouTube channel.
I don't see where it says YouTube channel.
Either that or just get off the YouTube channel. So are you, so it is my channel in the background right now. Are you watching my channel at the same time?
I can see you and I can see me. And
on YouTube.
yeah,
So just close the window of the YouTube channel. That's all you got to do. And now she's gone. Okay. Well, maybe what I'll do is maybe I'll just do an interview with Linda, and that way we can sort through some of the technological pieces. Oh, she's back. All right, let's give it another shot. She's an Aries rising, persistence. It's good. Okay.
is this better?
Yes.
Great.
Very good. I'm going to ask you to start video. Just click on the video prompt. That's all you got to do. There you are. All right. We've got, we solved it. It was just your YouTube channel that was booming back. No, it's okay. It's all right. So you may want to take notes. So you may wind up being a guest on somebody else's show.
I am. I haven't had this issue before.
Right. Well, we do bring a little chaos here every now and then. How are you?
I'm here. I'm hemping along. I've got some products, just show and tell, so
Okay.
people can actually see what they look like
Okay.
right away. This is the stalk of the hemp plant.
Okay. Before we go there, we're going to get personal. I know who you are.
Okay. They don't.
But not everybody knows who you are.
Okay. All right.
So I have known Linda since 1994. I remember the first day that I met Linda, and it was at a birthday party of the son of a mutual friend who's now grown up quite a bit and is carrying water for the Antichrist. No, that's just a joke. Linda knows what I'm talking about. And that's when I first met Linda, and I thought to myself, I like this person. This is an interesting person. And at that time, you were going through a big life change, and you were leaving your husband, Phil Fisher, whom I've talked about on the show before, who was an amazing inventor in mind. And we talked about his maglev monorail and then the hemp piece with Phil and what he was working on. Right. So I've talked about Phil, and you and Phil were separating and going different ways. And that's when I met you. And I've seen you go through a lot of changes, but the hemp piece is the thing that I think you've been a part of the longest, like since I've known you. And you went through being certified for ICLE and, all the sustainable stuff. And like your story is really interesting, because when I met you, I'm just going to say that you were kind of floundering. Like you spent all this time with Phil and dedicated your life to Phil, and watching you kind of re-enter the world. And at an age where, let's be honest, a lot of people aren't really re-entering the world at that, at that phase of their life. And you're like, okay, I'm in. And you've kept moving and growing and evolving through a number of these different incarnations, design, sustainable development, right? They're all kind of related. And eventually you came into the hemp world, and you're doing it, right? You have a website. You were really connected to John Trudell, who I hope we'll be able to talk about a little bit. And you are engaged in a work, a practice, a passion. And did I leave anything out?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. All right. Did I embarrass you at all a little bit there? No?
Not at all.
All right. Let's talk about how you, because I kind of laid the tracks there a little bit. First of all, let's talk about your website, because I can put your website up here. People can have a look at it. That's number one. But number two, how you came into understanding how important hemp is, and where you are with that now. So what's your website again, Linda?
It's hempanista.com. It's
Okay.
HEMPANISTA.com.
Hempanista.com. All right, we're going to bring it up here.
I was going to spell it hempanista, like hempen along, but it's PENIS, and I kept getting rejected. So I had to change the AE to an A. Hempanista, not hempanista.
So the E is an A, hempa. I got it. All right. Okay. So while I'm dialing this up, let's talk about how you discovered hemp and how it changed your life. Let's start there.
Well, I was at the Green Festival. I've been involved in green building for a number of years, sustainable, meaning that we don't use more than we can move forward to future generations. And so I was at a lecture there, and this was in 2012 in San Francisco. And I heard Winona LaDuke speak. Now, Winona LaDuke had run for vice president along with Ralph Nader as president on the Green Party a number of years ago. And, they were both just so completely honest and clear. Winona is a member of the Anishinaabe tribe in northern Minnesota. And she was speaking, and the last few things she said was, she asked about, she said, well, you know what what colonizing means, to be colonizing. And you know that the word colon is the word colon, and the job of the colon is to digest and eliminate. And of course, being a tribal member, that's exactly what the Europeans did to the tribes of America, digested and eliminated them. So I was like really blown away by that description of what colonize means, because I'm originally from Rhode Island. We're the 13th colony. So it really struck me. And I walked away and I saw a hemp booth. And I'd not known of hemp. I'm certainly very familiar with cannabis, but I didn't know about hemp. So I went to the booth and I saw books and from like the 1800s on hemp paper and fabrics. And I was really amazed. And there was like a pin or something like I like hemp, something like that. And I put it on and I came out of the booth. And I see John Trudell standing there. Now, John Trudell died in 2015, but at the age of 69. And so, but I had seen him perform 3 times, John Trudell and Bad Dog, spoken word music. He had a great band behind him, Bad Dog. And the reason they called themselves Bad Dogs, because those are the dogs that bite the hands that feed them. And so they were not asking for handouts for anybody. And John was a brilliant poet. And I knew his story because I also had seen his documentary, Trudell. And back in the day, he was a Navy vet and he was protesting all the treaties of ever made with the tribes, every single treaty had been broken. And so he was on the steps of the FBI, and he was with other tribal members, and they burnt the flag, and they recited article blah blah blah, code 6, section that says that when the flag has been defiled, it needs to be burned. And so they burnt it, and some of them were veterans, and they burnt the flag. Well, 12 hours later, on the Duck Valley Reservation in Nevada, his pregnant wife, who was also a tribal member, and a Paiute, and their house burnt down. And she was pregnant, and her 3 children and her mother all burned and died in this fire. And that was definitely a message to not speak out anymore. And it was at the time too when, the FBI was really in charge of the Black Panther takedown, and et cetera, et cetera. So John pretty much went underground for a few years just to recover. And then through Chris Christopherson and other musicians,
Jesse Ed Davis was the guy.
Yeah, Jesse Ed Davis,
who was playing guitar with the early Trudell recordings, the spoken word stuff.
Yeah.
So John Trudell, through you, had been on my show a couple times.
Yeah.
And I always liked talking with John. And I talked with him, and in passing on a number of occasions. And we're not going to get into the Grammy details, but we did see John Trudell together, right, in San Gregorio one weekend, where Linda delivered the hammer of God. But we're going to skip that story. That's for the memoirs. But John was instrumental. He was the guy that switched you on to hemp, and you had a pretty connected relationship with John almost all the way up through his passing, although there was a brief period of time there where he was not as much being in your life at a certain point. But up until then, you guys were pretty tight. And would you say that he lit the wick for you in terms of the hemp thing?
Oh, absolutely. He always said that cannabis was medicine for the people and hemp was medicine for the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And we totally locked in with that. And I had been waning a little bit in the green building world, and then I got invited to become a board member of the U.S. Green Building Council Redwood Empire chapter, which goes from north of the Golden Gate Bridge up actually to the Oregon state line. And I wasn't going to do it because I was so involved with hemp. And I asked John, and he said, "Are you kidding? You have to do this. It's extremely important. You've got to get hemp into the architects, into the builders, the contractors, the homeowners. Everybody needs to know about hemp." So, and I did, and I'm still a board member, and we do events, and we've been part of hemp construction here in the North Bay, Marin County, Sonoma County, Mendocino County.
Right. So I think hemp is amazing, and I've always, just been a member of the choir here, singing the praises of hemp. And if we really got into hemp, we could solve a lot of problems, right? If we really, really dove into this thing. And there's been a real sea change with hemp, because for quite a while it was like hands off, we don't want any part of it. But then Rand Paul and Mitch McConnell got involved because they knew that the tobacco thing was going to go sideways. So they needed a replacement crop and a replacement industry. And hemp comes in. And then what happens with hemp is all of a sudden CBD becomes sort of the main byproduct of hemp, and not really the things that we're talking about today. And do you see if there's going to be a bit of a sea change here at some point, where the products that we're looking at here, like the insulation, the rebar, the concrete, do you see that part of the production of hemp beginning to get some momentum and taking off?
Yeah, I do. Well, cannabis is still a Schedule I narcotic. Oddly enough, it's still there. Hemp no longer is. It's considered an agricultural crop, like potatoes or radishes, and so so it's still a freaking felony, cannabis by federally, and they're really keeping a tight grip on that, probably because of the prison system and all the rest of this stuff they're invested in to keep certain, it's mostly psychedelics that are in the Schedule 1 realm. So anyway,
no shortage of fentanyl, but
no, that's not a Schedule 1.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
So, and neither is cocaine. That's Schedule 4 because it's used so much in dentistry. So,
Linda, you know too much about this. All right, so you started this company. Yes. And John Trudell was really the guy that inspired you to do it.
Yes.
And you've been working pretty diligently at this. You had a bit of a setback with your hip. I know this because you and I are friends. But you're back up and running again, right? And there's some interesting developments that are happening with your business, this website, and this new kind of iteration of what you're doing.
Right. Well, when John and I first got together, he had a website and he had a nonprofit organization that he actually started with Willie Nelson. And Willie Nelson couldn't really participate because he was doing farm aid. And so because hemp was still illegal, Willie couldn't really lend himself to any promotion, et cetera. So, the organization was called Hempstead Project Heart, and the Heart stands for Hemp Energies Alternative Resource Technologies. And the whole idea was to get the tribes able to grow this crop, to feed them, house them, clothe them, medicate them. And so that was my focus for 6 years, to do that, really working with that. And when John crossed over in the end of 2015, it had to go back to the tribes. I'm indigenous to the planet, European, but I'm not indigenous to this continent. So it went to the Menominee tribe in Wisconsin. And they're taking care of it. They're growing it, et cetera. And Winona LaDuke is growing it too. Where Winona's got her own hemp grow and products. So because hemp is like cannabis, hemp for CBD, it's grown like cannabis because you're really growing it for the flowers. Whereas when you're growing it for industrial hemp, then you're talking about stalks that grow 20 feet tall. And you're looking at the stalk itself. Right. And so what you do when you have a stalk like this, and this hemp stalk isn't a whole lot bigger than this, but it's really, really hard. You can't just, it looks like I should just break it. It's just no way. And so you see here, if you can see that, these are the fibers of the hemp. And these fibers are removed from the plant, and you can get everything from the ropes like this, which were the ropes and sails of the world, and you can get it as fine as this.
Wow, look at that.
Ralph Lauren, high-end, beautiful, fine. And this is all true for hemp. I'm right now, here is if you can see this is a hemp pen. And this is made from hemp flooring. There's a company, a hemp flooring company in Kentucky, and that which falls to the floor gets swept up and ground up, and it was purchased by very high-end pen companies. And it's so durable and so lightweight. So just to show you that it's possible. And then here is a hemp briefcase.
Well, look at that.
I've had this briefcase for years. It's made from a British luggage company, and Mercedes-Benz and really, really high quality European car manufacturers have been using hemp in their dashboards and their door panels and all kinds of car parts, and calling it for years a biofiber for the American market, because we are so caught up with hemp being like, oh, it's smoke and dope. So
The stigma
anyway,
of that, the stigma of that is going away.
eventually it's going away,
No,
but still a lot of people don't have a clue as to what hemp can do.
well,
So
that is true, because when you really drill down into all the uses for hemp, it's absolutely mind blowing.
right. So you see this?
Yeah.
This is actually hempcrete. This is what your hemp wall would look like. You see how small these pieces are? Now, this is all from the woody inner core of the stalk. You have to take the fibers off. They gum up the machinery. And
do you have to do that manually, or is there more of
automated
automated process for that?
No, it's all processed. Absolutely.
Okay.
Nobody
Yeah.
does that anymore like that. No.
Right. Okay.
And so,
that's why you're here, Linda. Set us straight.
Yeah. Well, the rest of the world is kind of ahead of us, particularly
Way ahead of us.
the Germans and the Dutch and the French and everybody else.
Even the Canadians have gotten into hemp, right?
The hemp, they never stopped growing hemp.
Yeah.
So when you're buying hemp seeds, like for eating in Costco or any of your Whole Foods, wherever, everybody's eating hemp seeds now. They're tiny and they're very nutritious, high in omegas 3, 6s, and 9s. And people are eating them and sprinkling them on their yogurt or putting them on their, avocado sandwiches or whatever. And it's from Canada. We don't have enough hemp growing. We're only legal since the end of 2018. Donald Trump was in office, and Mitch McConnell really pressured, financially, and a way to go. The way to go to get hemp legal. So that was
one of the few good things he's done in his political career.
He hasn't been. Donald Trump was terrible on the environment.
I'm talking about Mitch McConnell.
Both of them,
Right,
I mean, seriously, both of them. And I'm 100% to protecting Earth, because we depend on everything on Earth for our survival and our thrival. So let's get back down to basics here. Hemp.
It seems like we went from like one extreme with Trump, which was, okay, let's open the floodgates. Let's do a bunch of leases. And then we just went to the polar opposite with Biden, which is let's shut everything down.
Right.
Let's take us back to the Stone Age and
knee-jerk reaction and
eat bugs and go buy Tesla. Right. So there's no real middle ground between this, just full on free market capitalism and this top down world economic technological fascism. Right. This is like, come on. We need some space in between here.
That's right.
So that we can develop and innovate and have something that's usable and I'll use it, the old version of this, not the new version, but really truly sustainable, not UN bullshit sustainable, but really sustainable, like the biochar stuff, really sustainable. Yeah. And who knows how biochar will be sanctioned if we go down the World Economic Forum Agenda 2030 world. Like, nope, sorry, you're not burning. We're in charge of all this stuff, right? We will orchestrate carbon usage on this planet. Thank you very much. So I don't want to get off too much of a tangent there, but it's one of the things that I'm really kind of passionate about is letting people innovate and develop, right? So put that brick up there again. Let's see that hempcrete brick again. Now, are there people actually building structures with this now?
Oh, heck yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
What is the cost because a lot of this stuff that we're talking about, the benefits are great, especially long term. But what is the cost now to get into like creating a hempcrete brick and then creating a structure? Is it cost prohibitive, or where are we with the labor and everything that's needed to put that brick together?
Well, it varies where you are. Canada never stopped. Okay, so they're a big grower of hemp.
Right.
And then there are some states that are really getting behind it, and they're starting to grow hemp too. Most of the fabric, like that beautiful fabric, all those that I showed you,
Right.
China never ever stopped growing hemp.
Right.
They were not part of World War II. Japan was a big grower too. But when we took over Japan, we had the Japanese stop growing it, and we only allowed the emperor's garden to grow hemp because that's what they make those beautiful kimonos out of. So when you're in a Japanese restaurant, you see those kimonos behind
Yeah.
glass. The
Yeah.
majority of them are hemp and silk
Wow. Beautiful.
because the hemp fibers are so long.
Right.
So in terms of cost, I want to show you this too, because it's all blended together.
Okay.
This here is hemp insulation
Oh, wow.
right here. So, and this is, once again, it's Canada. There's a company in Idaho that's building a factory for it. Mexico is now legalized hemp, so Mexico will start growing it again as well. And so in terms of the building with hemp, so how it works out is most often, and it's, I would say all the time, when you're building a house or you're adding an addition to the house, the contractor may not even know how to build with hemp. So the contractor will hire someone who does, a person who knows how to train other people in growing hemp. And those people pay. They pay to be part of this workshop, and then they get certified to build with hemp. So it becomes very community-based. So where you will save some money on the hemp because you're not having to pay labor, because the labor is paying for itself.
Interesting. That's very cool.
And then the contractor learns how to do it too. And so hemp is an infill. You have to have structure. It's not structural. So you need to have post and beam. Now, wouldn't it be great if we had enough bamboo in this country that could be post and beam?
Right.
But unfortunately, the way the United States is, it needs to be mountainous and it needs to be humid. So like the Carolinas are a pretty good place but that's about one of the only places for bamboo that grows in the stalk that's like big.
Right.
But anyhow, there's steel and there's different people are building round as well. They're building so that they're reducing there's so much innovation because there are so many people who really want to protect our forests and are not interested in destroying a forest to build a community, a house. Nobody, that's the opposition of community, to commune and destroy a forest at the same time. And you don't want to geoengineer trees either, because then there are no bugs, no birds, no life. It's just these monster bees, the trees. Right. So it's a way of introducing a new way to be. And there are a lot of, and I'm going to say a lot of people who are really looking at community now and how to build and live in community without costing the earth. So it's this kind of conversation that we're having that gives people enough curiosity to look these things up on their own, and because there's so much on the internet about it, and find people near you or contact me. Go contact me through my website, linda@hempanista.com, and I'll hook you up, because I've been in this business since 2012. And so, and because I worked in a nonprofit, especially tribal nonprofit, it really helped me to get a reputation as somebody who wasn't in it so much for the money. I was in it for the same reason that I would hope that anybody who's into organics would be. You stand for an environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, and socially just presence on this planet.
So what state or states would you say would be at the forefront of what's happening with hemp in the United States?
I would say that Colorado, Texas, in a way. There's a lot of Texas hemp people.
Yes.
Kansas, Nebraska, the central states like that. California is a cannabis loving state, the green mafia is here. I mean, it's just the way it is. They're not too happy about hemp because hemp has male and female properties. And if you're on the wrong side, that cross pollination would cause your your blue dream become like blue what?
Could you even say male and female properties when it would you just call hemp a stalking person or something like that?
Well, it's got male plants. What do? They pollinate the girls and then they die. And then it's only a very short period of time that the boys are ready to rock and roll.
Right. So what about conditions? It seems like you're talking about states with very different conditions. Here in Texas, it's humid in some areas.
That's
Other
fine.
areas it's dry.
That's
Colorado,
fine.
you've got the Rocky Mountains. Kansas is pretty
Fine.
low. Right.
Yep.
So it seems like it could grow pretty much anywhere, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yep. It's not an issue. We've been growing hemp for thousands of years. I have this American flag here. I can only show you, of course, a little bit of it, but this is what our first American flag looked like. It was woven out of hemp.
Love it. It's great. It's awesome.
This hemp was grown and raised, grown in Nepal and woven in Nepal. I mean, that's serious high mountains.
Right.
You know?
So what about water? I've heard that hemp is really water intensive.
No, not at all.
Really?
It takes 20% less water than cotton. 20%. Wow. That's a lot. So it can manage very well. And I was at a hemp grow in the middle of California in a little town called Lemoore. I mean, this is dry country, right? Water.
That's where Steve Perry's from.
Okay, well, it's Central California. And this hemp grow, the plants grew to be 28 feet tall. And they won the Guinness World Book of Records on the tallest hemp plants in the world. And the growers, they're all friends of mine, the growers, and they were very careful not to overwater, not to, to just keep it at a real low key, just to prove that hemp is not a cactus. It needs water, but it doesn't, what you get from what your crop can deliver you with.
The
yield is off the charts. You can, do just about everything I've told you about and more. Batteries, could be made from hemp. I remember the first conference I attended where this guy from Harvard, and they have, these universities have departments that are focused on what plants can deliver.
Right.
And when I heard him say this, I'm looking around like I couldn't relate to everybody's head still not being on their shoulders. Like he was saying you could make batteries from hemp. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. I mean, when you really drill down, and I've done it before, and you look at all the products that you can create with hemp, it's absolutely mind blowing.
Yes, it is.
It really is the magic plant, right? We can get CBD from it. It can help us with our inflammation and arthritis and our sleep. And then, we can make a battery from it. You can make a suitcase out of it. Henry Ford did an entire hemp car, which a lot of people know about. You might even be able to derive hemp fuel. I mean, that's all part of the mix. Biofuel, right? So I've always thought this is it. Hemp is the thing that could flip everything, right? You turn hemp loose, you get people that innovate, make products, right? Circulate that money back into the system, or however you transfer whatever they're doing. And man, we could really start doing something interesting here, really interesting. And I'm really happy that you stayed in the game with this too. I mean, because you've dealt with some challenges.
Oh yeah. However, I look at history, hemp was used in the pyramids and, and how much it's gone through over the thousands of years. And even with the revolution in this country, so many people refer to the Tea Party as the one that broke the English back. Well, that wasn't alone. King George, he made the colonists grow hemp, and we were paying our taxes with hemp. And then eventually the colonists are going, last time I checked, I wasn't English. I'm American now. And so when the British ships would come in from England and, and land wherever they did, in Virginia or Massachusetts, whatever,
Right.
they changed their sails out and their ropes. And so they needed hemp to be able to do that with. Or
Right.
they'd go down to, Jamaica and rest of the islands that they'd taken over, and they'd come back, and they need to have the hemp harvest ready for them to be able to put, reweave their sails and their ropes, etc. And one time they did that, and the colonists said, forget this. And they took over the warehouses. And when the English came back, there was nowhere to go. Nothing to change their sails and ropes with. And that was one of the beginnings of the end of the English colonization of America. But nobody knows that story.
That's a good
Very
story.
few people.
That's a good story. And your story is a good story too, because you have really persisted with your life amidst some, a few roadblocks here and there. And
Yes.
I know your story. And the thing I love about your story is that you're in the game, right? You're in the game. You found something that you're passionate about. It's your work, it's your dharma, and it's a good one, right? It's a good one, and I'm really happy that you're doing it, and I'm here to support you in any way that I can. Do you do like presentations and education?
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
If people want to get in touch with you, like this is like a little sliver of what you can talk about, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
No, I have. I've talked to architects and interior designers and more people, anybody in the food industry who just to eat it. My goodness, those hemp seeds are so nutritious.
Very nutritious. Is there anything else you want to share with anybody today, Linda? Well, we still have a few minutes left. What about these young guys that are working with you now? Remember, what about these young guys that weren't they connected to John at some point, or is it like a new infusion of energy here or something?
Yeah. So I have. My goodness, let me plug this in. Can you hear me better now?
I can hear you great.
Okay. So my guys are not necessarily young. One of them has been a venture capitalist for 40 years, and he's a nuclear engineering PhD.
Oh,
and
cool.
He absolutely loves hemp. He just sees hemp as like, come on, what are we doing? I know all about nuclear, and I'm telling you straight up, hemp can do what this earth needs it to do.
I agree.
And so he's all over it. And then he brought in a friend of his who's a chemical engineer. And then the third person is the former cannabis person. He owned a dispensary for 10 years. And manufacturing cannabis pills, lotions, salves, all of that stuff. And he just decided he wanted to go over to the hemp side. He didn't want to do cannabis anymore. It's pretty saturated on the cannabis side.
It's also hard now because in California,
yeah,
the cannabis mafia, not just the green mafia, it's the cannabis mafia.
Well, that's what I mean when I say
that's what you mean by that.
Mafia.
Oh yeah, no, okay, because there is the green mafia too.
Oh yeah, I get that, but
Right,
they're all part of it. No, but cannabis stands alone, just primarily because it's so California's so famous for California cannabis.
I knew a couple of growers in California, and once everything became legal, it took them right out of business. It was like,
well,
your days are over, buddy.
But it's even more than that. Like I used to live, Phil and we used to live way up high in Humboldt, Trinity County. I mean, that's like really isolated up there. And I met an architect at an event I was doing, and I overheard him saying, giving a town of where he lived. And I said, oh my God, I lived there years ago. And he said, oh, it's really changed now because this was like the primo California cannabis. And he said, it's totally different. You've got like real, mafia there. And like, what mafia? And he said like Romania, Eastern Europe, it's not just like, the cartels from Mexico. He said, no way, everybody's jumped in the can and they're like, they'll, and the police said, we're not going to protect you. It's way too mountainous. We don't have the manpower, the weapons to protect you because these guys are serious. So it's another world. Cannabis is entered another world.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting in on it. So I'm very happy hemp doesn't have the THC content that hemp, and that's another issue with hemp, because if you grow your hemp and it grows, it comes in higher than 0.3%, which is like, you can't even get a mouse high on 0.3%. But if it comes in hot, you have to pay to tear that out. And then you have to pay to put it into a toxic waste dump.
Wow.
Is that messed up or what?
Yeah,
So
it's the illogic of the West. I mean, the East has their own illogic.
Well, but the
illogic of the West
in America.
Sure.
This is in America because that's a federal law. So we're trying to get it up at least to 1%, for heaven's sake.
Well, it seems like an incredible waste of the product.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway.
Well, okay. So was there anything else you wanted to say? Because I kind of jumped in there.
No, I welcome your it's not an intrusion at all. It's a part of a conversation.
Right.
This is how we get things done. You say what you think and I can answer, or I can punt it, or whatever.
By the way, if anybody who's interested, this beautiful woman is single. Just letting you know. You never know, Linda. You never know. Stranger things have happened. Not that you're really looking, because you're very passionate about what you're doing and you have a focus, right? But you never know.
I'm just passionate about being alive. And, I've always been multidimensional about what that looks like. So I'm not ageist. Right. It's just as long as we're like recognizing that, one heartbeat at a time, one breath at a time.
Can I tell people I've seen your naked body?
Why not?
So Linda and I used to do these saunas together in Berkeley.
Oh, those were fun.
That's how I've seen your naked body.
Those were great.
Nothing beyond the sauna. Those were great, right?
Absolutely. I love that.
That was the best sauna ever. And you're never going to find another sauna like that. It's in Albany, and I think it's still there. I think they're still open.
I've wondered that, because I'm in Albany occasionally.
What's really interesting is that when Griffin and I saw you the last time we were there in Point Richmond, and we went to go buy that RX-7, the guy that we bought it from used to work at the Albany sauna.
Where was he located?
So that was in San Leandro, where we bought the RX-7.
Yeah.
But he had worked at that sauna. So he told me all about the sauna and who built it. And I got the lowdown on that sauna.
That's great. I know. I love these synchronicities.
Yeah. Well, Linda, this has been awesome. I've been wanting to have you on. We tried to fire it up last week, but it didn't really work. And here we are on Friday the 13th, and here you are.
This works better for me than it would have last Friday.
Yep.
And yeah.
So I'm going to leave your URL for the website in the show notes.
Yeah.
So if anybody's interested in connecting with you and having you do some education and consulting around hemp, they know where to find you.
Yeah, great. And hemp hooray.
Hemp hooray. I love that. All right, Linda, I'm going to kick you out of here. I love you, and have yourself a great weekend. And I'll connect with you sometime after the show today. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Bye.
All right. There we go. We're pulling her into the station. So I want to thank Masaki, who let us off today and gave us the lowdown of the crypto hell. He's such a freaking crypto warrior. And he was spot on. He was totally spot on with the peak and the dive. Like, nailed it. You go back. I should have queued up that show. Maybe I'll do it on Monday, because we'll still be talking about this on Monday. It's not going to go away. So I want to thank Masaki. I want to thank Jenna, aka A Sqirl, for talking to us about biochar. and the benefits of biochar and the opportunities around biochar. And then my dear friend Linda, who has really put her flag in the ground in the hemp world. And I do believe hemp is really important. And if we just embraced it and made it more of a part of our ecosystem and our economy, it would change the world. I'm telling you, it would change the world. We'd have jobs, we'd have innovation, we'd have distribution, we'd have all kinds of stuff. And slowly but surely we're getting there, but we're up against the clock, and that clock is ticking. And they moved the Agenda 2030 doomsday clock up a bit, but I think that's going to fuck up their operation. That's my 2 cents. So do what you can, right? Do what you can. There on this day today, Friday the 13th, there's a couple options out there for you. You got your biochar, you got hemp. Look into it. Maybe it's a fit. Maybe you can figure out how you can integrate it into your life, whether it's gardening, business. It's all there. All right. Positive note for today's show. I'm going to send you off into the weekend and this very intense lunar eclipse that's coming. There's a Trump rally in Austin on Saturday on an eclipse. All eyes on Austin. Who knows? Maybe I'll bring you some exclusive footage from that event. All right. From here in the Hill Country, I'm Robert Phoenix. Use your head in order to discern what's real, your heart to sip and what's possible. Again, thank you, Masaki, Jenna, and Linda.